Hello everyone. Today is going to be a little bit of a different video. I want to talk about something that's more mental as opposed to an actual strategy. And people who have a strategy will often be trading along and they'll be like, nope, this isn't a valid pattern. And all of a sudden they find themselves hitting their buy key or their sell key. And they're like, what did I just do? Like, what happened there? I knew I wasn't supposed to take that trade and I took it anyway. Or I know I'm supposed to stay in this trade till it's my profit target or my stop loss or my trailing stop loss, whatever it is. And for some reason you find yourself hitting your key. And this happens quite often with traders who haven't done a lot of internal work yet. And what's happening is that you have a trader in you who has done lots of research, developed a strategy, and while you're trading, you're trying to keep them at the forefront of your mind. And they're in control, they got the reins, they're taking the actions. But what people forget is that you have a lot of other parts of your personality and yourself that can take over that trader role at any time if they feel the trader's not acting in that part's best interest. So let's give you an example. Let's assume that you have a little part of you that is, let's just call him Mr. Greedy. And so you see a pattern here and you're like, this was a losing day for me, just not a lot of movement, no follow through. But overall, I traded it fairly well. I did have one mistake here. So let's talk about that one. I was just right at the start of my trading day. We just had a big upward move. And this is a pattern I would usually trade, but it's actually really big compared to the up move. So we can see we have this big up move, a move down, and then another pretty big up move. It kind of stalls out here, but we do have this push up. So in hindsight, this is almost like another wave. And the mistake's not so much that I took this trade, it's just that for whatever reason, I didn't even think. I was kind of blocked in my mind of considering this other scenario. I was hyper-focused on, let's just take this trade, as opposed to I always trying to work back and forth. Like, what's good about this trade? What's bad about this trade? Okay, what's the trade-off here? Is it worth taking this trade? Does it fit the patterns? And so there's like a little checklist I run through in my mind, and I was a little blocked on that one. I just didn't. So what happened was my little Mr. Greedy, for just a second, took over the front seat of my brain and took the reins for a second, and I jumped into a trade that wasn't a great candidate. And that can happen too. A trade setting up, and our scaredy cat, or the part of us that's a little fearful, the part of us that's maybe conservative, or the person who doesn't want to lose money, that part of ourself, which we all have these parts. And some of these parts are going to be stronger in some people, in others are going to be really strong in some people. So it's not a matter of just which part. It doesn't matter which part it is. It's you have to figure out which part jumps into the driver's seat while you're trading. And so we'll talk about what to do with that part. But for right now, Mr. Greedy or whatever took over and said, let's just jump into this trade. And it blocked out the trader part, whose job is to look at all different sides, consider the trade, look at the risk reward, is this likely to hit my target, all that sort of stuff. And he just got blocked because he was no longer in the driver's seat. So this happens throughout trading, and you're going to have these parts of you that jump in and cause you to do those things. And then all of a sudden you're back in your trader self wondering, what the hell just happened? I hit a button, I didn't mean to, but the trader part of your brain, so it's not like split personality or anything crazy like that. It's just that part of you that is the trader was not in control for that split second. And that's all it can take to mess up a trade, is a split second. You have your trader there, you're eyeballing the trade, and at any second, if another part comes in, you can easily hit your buy key, your sell key, and mess things up. So what trading is then, is basically, I like to think of it as like, so I day trade, but it doesn't matter if you're swing trading, investing, anything. Whenever you sit down at your keyboard with, or however you trade, with the intention of trading, looking at charts, potentially putting out some trades, you have to be in almost like a meditative state where you are focused on keeping your trader at the front of your mind. Because even if you're an investor, and when you place your trades, you're in your trader mindset or your investor mindset, and you're like, okay, I'm going to hold this for the next 3 years or whatever your plan is. If you just open up your brokerage account and you're not really in the right mind frame, probably most of us can relate to this phenomenon where you just flip through and it's like, ooh, I was up 20%, now I'm only down 15%. And before you even know it, you're clicking the sell button. You're not in your trader mind frame. You're in just whatever mind frame you're in from your day. You just happen to be doing whatever you were doing. Maybe you were doing adding up your bills or something for the month. So you're in kind of a state of, I'm a little worried about money, or I spent more than I was supposed to. Or maybe you're at your job and your job's to be a risk manager, or you're at a bank and you're in that mind frame of your job, not your trading. You are not in the correct mind frame to even open up your trading platform, because that mind frame is different than the mind frame required to trade your strategy. And if you don't get into your trader mind frame, it'll be very easy to start hitting buttons, and then all of a sudden, that's after you've hit a button, that's when your trader screams, wait, that's my job, I'm supposed to be there, what have you done? And you have that feeling of like, what the hell just happened? Like, I know I shouldn't have done that, but I did it. And it's because you were in the wrong mind frame for that trade, or for even looking at your charts. So how do we deal with this? So what we need to do is, while we're trading, we can notice the things that pop up. We can feel the mind frames that are trying to take over the front seat of our brain. And so when I'm day trading, I'm usually trading for a 2-hour period. This was a little bit quieter day, and I was a little tired, so I decided to stop early, about after an hour and 15 minutes. But for 2 hours, I'm trying to stay in my trader mind frame. And this is, I've discussed the trader mind frame is the one that's done all the research, knows how to execute the strategies, and is the best candidate for trading well. The parts of myself that tend to pop in are the one who's overeager to trade. So we all have that part of us who's just like, let's make some money, bang, 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 and just wants to bang keys in an attempt to make almost like random money. Or some people call this the gambler, the person who isn't concerned about the strategy. It's just like, give me some thrills. Let's, I'll just throw out a bunch of trades and hopefully one hits a big jackpot and that'll be great. Not really conducive to consistent long-term trading. Or there's the other part that pops into me, and that's the part that says, a little bit something's wrong with that trade. I'm just not even going to look at it and pretend it's not there. Because then I don't have to go through all the analysis. This is kind of like a bit of a scaredy cat, and then I also have a bit of a lazy part, which, if something doesn't look quite right about a trade, instead of doing the analysis, it's a lot easier to just say, I'll just leave that one. Might be a loser anyway, or something like that. And we don't go through our full process on each trade. So all these little parts are, if you think of your trader sitting at the front, if you kind of like close your eyes and visualize, you have you sitting at your desk, and he's at the front of your mind, or she's at the front of your mind. And then you have this, like, the rest of your personality, all these little faces just sitting behind you. And most of the time, maybe they're quiet. But if every once in a while, they'll start, saying, hey, no, this doesn't feel right to me. This doesn't feel right to me. and they'll try to take over the seat. So we avoid this by going through a little negotiation with each one. So once we notice the little voices that are trying to take over the front seat, or the little faces, the part of ourselves, I like to give them a little personality, a name. I want to know what they look like. If you have a part of you that's super lazy, maybe he's just, lies on the couch all day. So it makes it, it makes it easier to isolate the part that's causing the problem. And then what you have to do is, with your trader part and that other part, you need to kind of, with your overall observer, just kind of notice these two and negotiate how they can work together. The trader obviously has to place the trades, but this other part of you wants something. The part of you that's very conservative, that doesn't want to lose any money, it's trying to do a good thing for you. It's trying to say, don't lose any money. Like, keep it. We need it. But it's not aligned with your goals as a trader. So what you have to do is come up with a negotiation between these two parts, and so that they basically stay out of each other's business. And I'm going to give you an example. So I had a part, that way I can give like some actual examples and some actual solutions. So I had a part during the summer. I'm a big golfer, so I really like, as soon as I can see the sunshine outside and it's a nice day, I have a really hard time just sitting there trading, because the golfer in me, the golfer part or the adventure part or whatever it is, just the being outside part, the active person in me, is just screaming to take over that seat and say, hey, we're done. Like, let's get out of here. So this causes all sorts of problems, because when I'm trading, I'll be trading along, and then my active guy will jump into the driver's seat and say, hey, let's just make a couple trades, make some money so that we can get out on the golf course. And that's going to be problematic, of course, because then I'm not likely to follow my strategy. I'm more likely to jump the gun a bit on a trade. I'm maybe going to take a random trade just to say, like, okay, let's just try to make a couple percent and then get the hell out of here. And it's not good for trading, because I'm no longer aligned with my strategy. I'm having all this pressure to perform so that I can go do something else. And what I had to do was look at these things, and they usually go both ways. So my trader part can my active part can sabotage my trader, and my trader can sabotage my active guy or my golfer, because if I end up having a rough day, then I go out to the golf course and I don't enjoy my time anyway, because my trader is like, what the hell happened today? I lost money, blah, blah, blah. Or just I'm out on a weekend road trip with the family, and my trader guy is just like, gotta check the markets. Find a trade, write an article on trading. And then he ruins the active guy's time. So no wonder these guys are always kind of in conflict. And so we have to negotiate. So what I had to do was write down what each one wants. Trader guy obviously wants to be able to follow his strategy. He needs about 2 hours for day trading. For swing trading, most of the trades go out on, I do my scanning on Wednesday nights, so that's when I need to be in that trader mind frame for that hour and a half that I'm scanning. And then anytime I'm putting out a trade, for a swing trade, it only needs to be about 5 minutes. If I just check my chart, anytime I open my charts, okay, make sure I'm in the trader mind frame, 5 minutes, okay, there. And then anytime I look at my charts, I have to make sure I'm in that trader mind frame. So I have to negotiate a truce that these guys don't interfere with each other. And so trader guy, like I said, he needs the 2 hours and 5 minutes every now and again for day trading, scanning, putting out swing trades. And the active guy also needs his time to be outside golfing, rock climbing, whatever it is. So I had to come up with a way to basically say, active guy, you stay out of trader guy's business for 2 hours while I'm day trading. And in exchange, we will stop work early every Friday at 11 a.m. So we have a much bigger day Friday to go out and do stuff. And we'll go take a road trip at least 2 times a month. So every weekend, we basically go on a road, or every other weekend, a road trip. I had to plan out vacation days. And you'll feel like you'll go through this negotiation and there'll be what you want, and then there'll be what this part of itself wants. So I thought, just agree to stay out of each other's business. But it didn't quite work that way. There was still little objections being raised in my mind that said, no, you need to go to the mountains. We need this for our health, is to go to the mountains a couple times a week. We can't work all day, every day, all week. You need to take some time off during the week. You need to schedule in some, an hour or two a day to just take a break, cook a big lunch, relax a little bit, watch some TV during the day, because trading is draining all of our other parts. So this active guy was kind of taking on some of the responsibility of the other parts of myself that I had neglected. And those neglected parts are going to come in and try to sabotage your trading. So I had to basically write down. And the trader guy had to agree to, while we were on a road trip or a vacation, I wasn't allowed to check my charts. I wasn't allowed to check my trades. I wasn't allowed to run a scan or something like that. I had to let those parts that needed that external outside activity to enjoy it without being sabotaged by my trader, who's a very strong part of my personality. Do you see how you can get those conflicts? And most of us never think of this, and I didn't think of it until I went to a Van Tharp Peak 101 workshop, and there were people crying doing this exercise once they did the negotiation, because they were like, oh my God, I feel like I'm getting torn apart all the time, torn in all these different directions. And for the first time in my life, I feel aligned in my goal. Every part of me is just in agreement that, okay, if we go this path and we have negotiated each part amongst us, everyone can reach our goals. And in going back to my analogy, if I stick with this alignment and I keep the negotiation going, then I get to enjoy my free time. And that part of me really gets to enjoy it. And the trader gets to enjoy his time while he trades without being bombarded by other parts and distractions. And the part that wants to spend time with family and be with my partner gets to enjoy that without being constantly bombarded by the trader or the worker who just wants to work all the time. The perfectionist in me is willing to do its work outside of my trading. So I do definitely have a perfectionist part. I don't like not being good at things. And so I've come to a truce there as well, where the perfectionist part can step in after I'm done trading, and it's very good at finding the mistakes, areas to improve, but it's a productive part of the trading process. It's not interfering. I'm not getting mad at myself during trading because it's backed off. It knows where its place is, and I can trade. Yes, I'm going to make some mistakes, and then after those parts, that perfectionist can come in and say, this is where the mistakes were, and then the trader can say, yes, okay, I can make improvements there. I'm going to work on doing things to help eliminate these mistakes. Maybe I said, I have my trading plan next to me, but I don't have a little checklist I have a checklist for the strategies, but I don't have a checklist for overall conditions. I have a few things that I monitor for, but obviously this one slipped my mind. wasn't right near my desk, so I need to have that. So the perfectionist played a great role there. They're not in conflict anymore. So they're not sabotaging each other while I'm trading, but they're helping me in my goal of becoming a better trader. And then the trader also has a lot of skills that it can bring to your other parts, your job, your relationships. I do a lot of things for trading which could help my relationships and my family obligations. And because with my trading, it's very routine oriented, which I like. That's my personality. It aligns with me very much. And I can use that same approach to, if I'm having a rough day, let's say with the family, I can use that routine approach to just have some little strategies written down that say, yeah, when we're feeling like this, remember, you can just do this little exercise. You do it with your trading, it works great there. And let's try it with the relationship to bring you back into a better headspace, to bring back the person who's supposed to be in charge. So there's all these little parts of us have different skills, and we want to get them into alignment. So there's probably like 5 or 6 that you'll probably have to work on that you notice are jumping into the driver's seat when you're trading. And it's a beautiful thing once you've had that little negotiation and you feel like, hey, I can just trade and all these other parts of me are not going to jump in and sabotage me. Because have you ever had that feeling where you don't really trust yourself? Where, like if you're put in a certain situation that it's like, ooh, I don't really trust myself. Like, I don't trust myself not to just start gambling and hitting all the keys. That's because you're supposed to be a trader, but another part of you is jumping into the driver's seat. Now imagine if you could negotiate with that and come to a truce where you just feel that, where each one of those parts that were in conflict are now like, hey, I'll stay out of your shit, man. And the other one's like, sweet, I'll stay out of your shit. And you're both those parts of you are just content to let the other one do their business, and the other one can do their business whenever it's their time. That is a very liberating feeling. And it's not like you do an exercise once, you do that little negotiation, and it's like, oh, problem solved. It's something, especially big issues, big internal conflicts, may take several negotiations and ongoing negotiations. So each morning I do a little mental health check before I start trading, and I say, okay, we know we're starting trading, and you just take a moment. People always say meditate, close your eyes for 5 minutes. And that didn't really do a lot for me. Yeah, it kind of calmed me down a little bit, but in the morning I'm tired anyway. It usually put me to sleep. So what I do now instead is I just take a moment, just take a deep breath. Note that you're about to trade, and just see if there's any little hands up there saying, hey, I'm feeling a little discontent. Whatever that part of it is, and have a little 30-second negotiation before you start trading. I can tell you it's better than nothing, because if that little voice is sitting there and it's not dealt with, what do you think is going to happen once you start trading and emotions start to move up? As trades don't quite go in your favor, all those little voices are going to start rising louder and louder and louder, and then you're going to have some try to jump into your driver's seat. So note the parts, have a negotiation, write them down. Actually, write them down, give them a little face, and then you'll probably notice several conflicts that happen while you're trading, and they give them a little name: the greedy guy, the gambler, the perfectionist, your mom pops into your head, your sister, someone who said you couldn't do it, someone who said, you're going to make $1 million in a week, and now that's stuck in your head. All these things, all these little parts of us need to be dealt with. So deal with you can deal with 100 small ones, which may make a little bit of impact, but note the big guys. Note the ones that try to jump into your driver's seat. And that's the reason we have those moments where we think, why did we do that? Or that was a beautiful trade. Why didn't I take it? Like, all I had to do was hit the button and I was totally blocked. That's why it happens, and that's how to eliminate it. So write down the parts, and each one has to negotiate with your trader part to let them do what they want. Don't try to discredit that part. It's doing you a service in some way. So find out what its positive intention is for you, and then let it do it outside of trading hours. Negotiate and say, trading is from 9 to 11, or 8 to whatever, 10. Your 2-hour period or 3-hour period, whenever you day trade or swing trade. I'm doing it right now, trading. How about I know that you want to take care of the money issues or make sure that we're not risking too much. Let's do that after we trade. That way we can make sure the trading is aligned with what you need as well for making sure that we're financially secure, all that. Just negotiate so that they're not at odds with each other while you're trading. And then have a little bit of a brief negotiation before you start trading. If you notice any voices are pretty loud in your head before you start trading, have a little negotiation and just say, step aside for a few minutes. I hear you. What would you like? How can we come to a resolution on this? And it only has to be like a 30-second, 1-minute thing, and it's going to probably save you from many losing trades and many missed trades. Also, anytime we open our trading platform, this is why I find it dangerous when people trade on their phones, because you can be walking around, and then if you just open up your phone, you're not in your trader mindset necessarily. Make sure anytime you have the ability to place a trade, anytime your brokerage account gets opened, you are in your trader mind frame. Because if you just came from the bar and you're in like Yahoo mind frame, you can guess maybe some bad things are going to happen. Make sure you're in your trader mind frame, and before you trade, try to quieten the objectors and negotiate between them. So hopefully that helps explain why you have those moments of, what the did I just do? And we'll explain why it happens, because in the moment sometimes we don't know why it happened. We're just like, it's like I got possessed for like 0.2 seconds and ruined a good trade. And this is why it happens. And so hopefully it sheds some explanation. Hopefully it improves your trading, because if you actually commit to this process, not only are you going to have less mistakes, feel more aligned, less stressful, but overall your life is going to improve drastically, because like I said, you're going to feel more aligned as opposed to always feeling like you're getting torn in all these different directions. These parts don't go away. They're a part of us. They're a part of our personality. We do not want to discredit any part of us, or that's not going to do any good. But we just need to negotiate with it and find out how it's going to align with our overall purpose, and we're going to feel so much better. If your trading so some keys that there's conflicts. If your trading feels stressful, if you're worried about losing trades, if you're worried about not making enough money, that is a conflict with your trader. If you are very angry at a losing day, if you are over the moon with a winning day, all these things are signs that there's a conflict going on with the trader. The trader's job is just to be, aligned with the strategy, and then if it's not making enough money, we change the strategy and then follow the new strategy, work on ways to find more money within the strategy. And so if we have all these other things that are making us extremely angry, then it just means there's a conflict. A part of us is very angry at the trader for doing this to us, and we need to negotiate that. So anytime, we have that feeling of like, there's a conflict there. And you probably feel it a lot while you're trading and have never known how to deal with it, the knot in your stomach as you have to take a trade, or that like sinking feeling as you watch the price move in your favor and then just start going back toward your stop loss. If there's a lot of emotion there and you just like don't want to look at it, you're like looking away, or like, oh, I gotta just grit this out, there's a conflict there. There's a part of you that is very strongly against what you're doing, and you need to find, not that they're against, they just don't know how to work together. So you need to find a way to allow the trader to work and that part of you that's like super concerned about losing money. How do you negotiate those two parts? And I don't know, because we're each different. Your negotiation is going to be slightly different than someone else's. You might have the same parts conflict, but you may not necessarily come up with the same solution, because we all have different needs, and one person's anxiety part may be way stronger than another person. So one person's anxiety negotiation may be just a couple little compromises here and there, and another person's maybe making drastic life changes to accommodate and make room for both these people to, or both these parts of ourselves to align. All right, so I've talked enough, I think, and hopefully you got some good out of this video, and let me know what parts are in conflict for you. And if you found some negotiation techniques to align them, let us know, because there's probably other people who could really benefit from hearing other people's experiences and how they got those parts to align and come to an agreement. Until next time, happy trading.